So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about sin. And just as a little recap, everybody knows two kinds of sin. There's mortal and venial. All right, the mortal sin needs to have three parts. It needs to have grave matter. You need to have knowledge that it is sinful. And then you need full consent of the will. Nobody can force you to sin by holding a gun to your head. You obviously at that point don't have free will. We call the more serious sins mortal sins because it's mortal or deadly. It wounds our relationship to God in a deadly way. And obviously I think everybody here knows that we should be avoiding mortal sin. Around here that would disagree with that. When we talk about venial sin, that's another issue. And there are three specific references to it in the Catechism, and I'm going to read these out here. Paragraph 1855. Mortal sin destroys charity in the heart of man by a grave violation of God's law. It turns man away from God, who is his ultimate end and his beatitude, by preferring an inferior good to him. Venial sin allows charity to subsist even though it offends and wounds it. 1862. One commits venial sin when, in a less serious matter, he does not observe the standard prescribed by a moral law, or when he disobeys the moral law in a grave matter, but without full knowledge or without complete consent. And then 1863. Venial sin weakens charity. It manifests a disordered affection for created goods. It impedes the soul's progress in the exercise of virtues and the practice of the moral good. It merits temporal punishment. Deliberate and unrepentant venial sin disposes us, little by little, to commit mortal sin. However, venial sin does not break the covenant with God. With God's grace, it is humanly repairable. So, we'll switch slightly, and I was going to point to one of our training posters, but the wind is kind of carrying them away on us. The 12 Rules of the Beginning Fencer from Der Alten Fechter. Specifically, rule number 9. Do not omit the irritating wound. What we do here in martial arts, right, is we're learning strategy and tactics in weapons combat, physical combat. But spiritual warfare is another kind of combat, just with a different set of weapons. So similar principles of strategy and tactics apply to both. That's kind of the point of the whole apostolate. Do not omit the irritating wound, right? Elbowing, scratching, kicking, punching, gouging out eyes. There's a great one where somebody, in one of the manuals, where somebody said, put your thumb up underneath their chin. Now lift up their head so that you can stab them with your sword. They're not deadly strikes. But the truth is, they get in the way. They injure you. They distract you. They cause you to not be able to maneuver yourself in the best way to be defensive, so that you can protect yourself and protect others. Ultimately, they can lead to an absolute inability for you to defend yourself. I mean, you get a muscle severed, in an upper arm, and it becomes impossible to wield the sword correctly. So my suggestion, what I come to is thinking of venial sin as the irritating wound. Right? It doesn't destroy your relationship with God, but it begins the process of opening you up to the greater possibility of that deadly spiritual sword strike, the deadly mortal sin. We defend against the venial sin just as we defend against the irritating wound, by not being there, by avoiding it, by having the right counter to employ when it shows up. So, just some things to think about today, and as we go forth into the